Since its beginnings, Mike Tyson was marked by his stature. Distrusting him, the national team for the Olympics preferred another fighter simply because his measurements seemed more imposing than Tyson's. But young Mike Tyson worked on what others saw as his great weakness to turn it into a huge advantage against the giants of the ring who often labeled him as a small threat. Barely debuting in professional boxing, Mike Tyson proved that his short stature didn't make him any less lethal. Working the bodies of his larger rivals with sadistic blows until they were completely weakened, the power in Iron Mike's fists was able to knock out even those opponents against whom there was little faith. Welcome. In today's video, I bring you two confrontations where Mike Tyson proved his worth against boxing giants who fell short when it came to facing a fighter who fits the phrase small but dangerous. I hope you're comfortable because our new journey through the archives of the discipline is about to begin. Mike Tyson versus Tony Tucker. It was 1987 and only 2 years had passed since young Mike Tyson successfully completed his transition to professional boxing. Big names were already adding to his list of vanquished opponents, and the record of the youngest heavyweight champion in history was already resting on his shoulders. With a professional record of 30 victories, achieving 27 of them by the painful path of knockout without having been defeated, it seemed that there was no fighter on the face of the earth who could beat him until Tony Tucker appeared on the scene. Tucker's professional debut took place in '80, which was presumed to give him more experience than Tyson at the time. However, his professional record was very similar. With 34 victories, achieving 29 of them by knockout and without having been defeated, the sports press sold Tucker as the only fighter capable of ending Mike Tyson's undefeated streak. But failing that, he felt the pressure that the Beast Iron Mike would do the same to him. Thus, on August 1st, they arrived at the ring of the Hilton Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. Tucker had to make his first defense of the World Heavyweight title of the International Boxing Federation, while Tyson had to defend the World Heavyweight title of the World Boxing Association for the second time and the World Heavyweight title of the World Boxing Council for the third time. This fight was the final of the HBO Heavyweight Unification Tournament. Originally, the bout was scheduled for 15 rounds but was reduced to 12 after the three governing bodies met and approved the change shortly before the match took place. There was a crowd of over 7,140 people in attendance when Tyson entered the ring as the favorite in the 11-1 odds. But getting there had been the easy part. Now, Tyson had to make sure to come down as the unified champion. Once in the ring, a classic Tyson performance was not witnessed. Repeatedly, the renowned knockout machine had trouble connecting more than one punch at a time. This was because, while he was stalking, Tony Tucker fought a battle of survival.
Good right hand by Tucker. That might have been the best shot that Mike Tyson has ever taken, right there. There was a left hand by Tyson.
During the early rounds, Tucker succeeded in shaking Tyson's head with strong right punches and straight rights.
I hearken back to your fight with Marvin Hagler, where after the first, Tyson, two good jabs. That was a good example. That up was catching Tyson on the way in. He's finished with the left hook, Barry. There was a good right hand again by Tucker. In close.
However, after the fourth episode, the worst thing you can do if you're in the ring against a beast like Iron Mike happened, losing your attacking strength. From the fourth round, Tucker's performance became linear after starting to fight not to win but to surpass the 12-round mark. Tucker's strategy was clear: keep the distance, dodge the explosive charges that were thrown at him in Tyson's fists, and hold on to the one who sought to dominate him to reduce his chances, thus gaining all the time in the world. He often went for Tyson's head as he advanced towards him to neutralize his winning impetus. But the 21-year-old knockout machine was more than oiled and ready to go all the way. During the last two-thirds of the fight, Tyson landed the big blows experienced in the ring.
Get him out of there. I think Tucker, on the other hand, is fighting a superb. And there was a big right hand. Tucker's in the pad. And the reason for that is because those are the antics there sometimes work.
For the last round, it seemed like Tucker was coming back to life after landing a strong left hook to Tyson's head.
There was a big left hand with a flourish. And so is Tucker.
but it was already too late to add himself to the victory on the judges' card. The 3 judges voted for Mike. Phil Newman scored 119 to 111. Julio Roldan scored 118 to 113. Bill Graham scored 116 to 112. Although there were no knockdowns during the contest because Tucker used the type of tactics that had already frustrated Tyson's offense before, this victory by unanimous decision once again proved that the true giant in the fighting ring was him. Mike Tyson versus Frank Bruno. And because 2 fights will always be better than 1, here's a quick summary of the confrontation between Mike Tyson and Frank Bruno. Jumping to 89, we come across another of the greatest challenges in Mike Tyson's career. With 2 more years of experience, destiny led him to face Bruno on February 25th on the same ring at the Hilton Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. Bruno had debuted in professional boxing in '82, but his record was not exactly the most ostentatious. Out of 32 victories, 31 of them had been collected by knockout. Impressive if you ignore his 2 previous losses. Tyson was immersed in a conflicting personal situation, but that didn't seem to prevent him from continuing to function as a knockout machine in the ring. Out of his 35 victories, 31 of them had been claimed by the painful path of knockout. Unlike Bruno, he remained undefeated. It was his first defense of the Ring Magazine heavyweight title, the 5th of the International Boxing Federation World Heavyweight title, the 7th of the World Boxing Association World Heavyweight title, and the 8th of the World Boxing Council World Heavyweight title. With Bruno being another giant in the ring, hopes of taking the crown from Tyson were pinned on him. After the bell sounded, Tyson came out of his corner with such a level of violence that Bruno slipped during the first few seconds of the round.
Afraid, hanging on. Bruno's already tagged with a right hand. And there goes Bruno for the first time in the fight.
After the standard count of 8 and almost leaving the ring, the British giant was ready for what awaited him. Bruno tried to damage Tyson with headshots during the clinches, just before Richard Steele put some distance between them. The scenario was not the most favorable for the young champion, but this contest was just getting started.
Out by a shot by Frank Bruno. Tyson trying to fight back, and Bruno did catch him.
Tyson recovered from his tragic close during the second round. Blow after blow, he focused his offense on Bruno's body, a strategy that had already helped him weaken other giants in the past.
The right hand catches Bruno. Left hook. Bruno looks ready to go. Now is when he's going to hang.
Now it was Bruno who came from a complicated closing at the start of the third round. With Tyson in charge of the pace of the fight, tragic scenarios for Bruno began to unfold. Tyson had won the previous 3 rounds, and the 4th round looked just as good for him. Despite Bruno's clinches attempting to frustrate his ruthless attacks, he found a way to sneak his fists until they landed on the increasingly fragile body of the Englishman.
And look, Bruno was caught by a right hand and a left hook.
The fight seemed to project for more, but at the start of the 5th episode, the end was around the corner. Literally. Just 1 second of Bruno with his guard down was enough for Tyson to carry out a massacre in the ring. With an impeccable but lethal combination of blows, he left Bruno seeing stars.
A left hook, and Richard Steele. It doesn't matter. That's not shot. That's not that photo shot.
With Richard Steele as a witness and Bruno against the ropes, the end came. Mike Tyson defeated Frank Bruno by technical knockout at 2 minutes and 55 seconds of the 5th round. Fun fact, Mike Tyson ended Frank Bruno's career after his victory, but not in this fight. Want to know about their second encounter? That's history for another video. If you've made it this far, I thank you. I ask you not to leave without leaving your like on the video, reminding you that it's the best way to support my content. On my channel, you'll find more videos available to accompany you in your day-to-day life. Do you have some free time? Watch the next one right now. Now it's my turn to learn from your knowledge of the discipline. Do you know another fight where Mike Tyson had to face a boxing giant? Tell me about it in the comments. Mike Tyson has accumulated a lot of casualties in his professional boxing career against fighters who almost doubled his size. He has never felt fear or been intimidated by the words of those boxers who know how to attack in press conferences but fail to live up to their threats once they enter the honorable fighting ring. What happened on the day these two profiles clashed? Welcome. In today's video, I will talk to you about the fight where Iron Mike had to face the most conceited fat man of his entire career, and he lived to tell the tale. Once again demonstrating that punches have the final say in the noble art of boxing, this is the encounter between Mike Tyson and Brian Nielsen that everyone was talking about in 2001. I hope you're comfortable because this battle is about to begin. Born on April 1st, 1965, Brian Nielsen is a well-remembered Danish professional boxer today. Probably his greatest moments of glory were experienced before stepping into the ring to face Iron Mike. From 96 to 99, he held the IBO heavyweight title. Nielsen successfully defended his title 5 times, even against the legendary Larry Holmes and the almost unstoppable Phil Jackson. Establishing the second highest number of defenses, second only to Vladimir Klitschko, he was not necessarily a rival you wanted to step into the ring with. At one point, he matched Rocky Marciano's record of 49 consecutive wins without defeats. With Tyson nearing the end of the second decade of his professional career, opinions on what would happen once he entered the ring to face Nielsen were more than divided. Under this uncertainty, both fighters entered the Parken Ring in Copenhagen, Denmark, on October 13, 2001. Steve Smager was the man tasked with ensuring a fair fight, while the critical eye of Erkki Marinen, Daniel van de Wiel, and Marty Denkin were to declare a winner at the end of the scheduled 10 rounds if the force of their fists was not enough to claim victory. With 62 victories, 43 of them by Tyson's 48 victories, 42 of them by knockout were not exactly anything. But coupled with his 3 previous losses and 2 draws, it seemed the balance tipped in favor of the conceited Dane. With the bell sound, the first round of the contest began. Tyson honored his legacy from the get-go, cornering Nielsen and executing a powerful combination of body punches to waste no time in working towards his victory.
I'm not sure yet.
The body and the head now.
It seemed the Danish fat man had run out of ammunition early in the fight when he focused on his guard to avoid being injured by the missiles raining from all directions. With Nielsen grumpy about this event, everyone eagerly awaited to discover what would happen next.
To the second. Combination of the head by... But Nielsen still standing.
Tyson had the experience and patience necessary to work towards a victory against a fighter larger than himself, and he was proving it. Tyson looked as fresh as someone who had just woken up from a restful sleep, but the same couldn't be said for Nielsen. Throughout 6 tough rounds, the conceited Dane was the one who had endured the bitter part of the encounter. When the bell called the fighters to start the 7th episode, the camera focused on Nielsen, who was still in his corner. Hidden among his team, it was communicated that he decided to surrender. That man who everyone thought would be an easy target for living the last years of his activity in professional boxing showed that there was still much of himself to offer to the discipline. While this was one of Mike Tyson's last victories, the moment of his retirement keeps him dignified even today. On the other hand, Brian, your day. Select the next one and I'll see you there.
Boxing is often called the noble art of fists and a gentleman's sport, where there is no place for dirty rats who want to intimidate more than they can fight. Even the great Mike Tyson had to deal with fighters who tested his patience by mocking his abilities before their encounters. Patiently, karma awaited them to deliver justice on fight day through Mike's powerful fists. Welcome. In today's video, I'll show you what instant regret looks like using examples of boxers who threatened Mike Tyson over the years and ended up shooting themselves in the foot. Get comfortable, because this recap of Iron Mike's journey through the history of the sport is about to begin. Mike Tyson versus Marvis Frazier. It was '86, and Mike Tyson had already begun to make waves in the world of professional boxing. On July 26th, in the ring at Glens Falls Civic Center in New York, he was set to face his next big rival, Marvis Frazier. Frazier's confidence in his abilities bordered on egotism, believing himself superior to young Iron Mike. However, Tyson's undefeated record of 24 wins, 22 of them by painful knockout, strongly defended his skills in the ring. With Joe Cortez as the third man in the ring, the fighters jumped into action. Tyson used a devastating right hook to knock out Frazier just 30 seconds into the originally scheduled 10-round fight. The fighters met in the center of the ring after the opening bell, and Tyson quickly caught the arrogant Frazier off guard with a right hand. Forcing him into a corner, he struck him with a hook that sent him to the canvas.
Uppercut, and Marvis is hurt.
Cortez counted only to 5 before signaling the end of the fight. Mike Tyson versus Mitch Green. Mitch Green was well known for his street past. Despite boxing being a gentleman's sport, Green tried to mix it with gang dirt by behaving like a true thug. When his fight against Tyson was confirmed, he made death threats on his behalf. Completely ignoring sportsmanlike rivalry, Green really seemed ready and willing to shed blood on the canvas. But on May 20, '86, at Madison Square Garden in New York, his skills would fall short compared to his words. Tyson managed to press Green at all times, landing some powerful blows directly to the head and body.
Tyson comes out like a locomotive, going straight forward, and he didn't double up. He just was a little bit lazy, but being conditioned like Tyson, there is no...
Defending himself with flurries, Green refused to go down against Tyson. The fight overall was an emotional outburst, which young Iron Mike ended up winning by unanimous decision.
Always aggressive, right in front of his man. Now we see some head movement, and have it leaning back. Watch the left hook of Mike Tyson land.
He did draw a warning from Luis Rivera, the referee, about holding. Green's in trouble.
Those...
They fought.
Look at here,
Just laughing at him.
What's going to happen?
2 years later, Green took the rivalry to the streets by ambushing Tyson coming out of a store and starting an underground fight. Once again, Tyson prevailed against the poor gangster who couldn't intimidate anyone but himself. Mike Tyson versus Tyrell Biggs. Biggs won the gold medal in the super heavyweight division at the '84 Olympics, but that doesn't mean he was an exemplary athlete. In fact, his participation on the national team sparked a rivalry between him and Tyson that began on the street and ended up in a professional boxing ring later on. Tyson, shorter and not so exaggeratedly muscular, was rejected by the national team for the Olympics. Who did manage to make the cut? Biggs. And he didn't hold back from mocking Tyson for it. When the team was about to board the plane to go to the training camp, Tyson decided to approach them to wish them luck. Biggs, in front of everyone, in a sarcastic tone, said he didn't know what young Mike was doing there, but he was sure he wouldn't be boarding the plane with them. By '87, when fate brought them together to square off, Biggs made sure to make it clear he didn't see Tyson as the fighter everyone was trying to sell him as. According to Biggs, he knew him from the back and knew he wouldn't last a couple of rounds in the ring. On the night of October 16th, in the ring at Convention Hall in Atlantic City, New Jersey, Tyson let his skilled fists have the final say. Dominating him throughout the fight, he defeated Biggs by technical knockout 2 minutes and 59 seconds into the 7th round.
Stevenson, and I admit it was 5 years ago, but he really bothered me.
There's the hook, again, because his hands are down. And the way that Biggs is moving, very seldom you see Biggs come back with a combination of his own.
All the way back to amateur days. Another left hand, and there's a...
Oh, that
was a tremendous left hand.
Mike Tyson versus Frank Bruno. The fight between Mike Tyson and Frank Bruno was one of the most anticipated, but also one of the most overshadowed. Due to issues in Mike's personal life, the date kept getting pushed further away. In fact, do you remember the underground altercation between Tyson and Green? Because of that fight, the date was also postponed once. Tyson hit Green so hard in the face that he broke his right hand. But besides that, many more events prevented the youngest world heavyweight champion from getting into the ring to fight. At one point, Bruno started spreading rumors that Tyson was just making excuses to skip the fight. Gradually, those rumors seemed to gain credibility among fans and tentatively could escalate to the sports press. Fortunately, they dissipated on the night of February 25, '89, when, in the ring at Las Vegas Hilton, both fighters finally squared off. Mike Tyson ended up defeating Bruno by technical knockout 2 minutes and 55 seconds into the 5th round, after setting a pace of fight that the bold mouth couldn't keep up with.
Standing for him, he get tagged again by a right hand. He's trying to... Right hand catches Bruno. Left hook. Bruno looks ready to go. Now Tyson. A fight that cannot be saved by the bell. Tyson knows he's got him in big trouble. If he doesn't answer it, Richard Steele has moved in.
Mike Tyson versus Frank Bruno II. Not content with a first defeat, Bruno did everything possible to secure a rematch against Tyson. He was sure that the then champion had retained his titles during that first encounter only by luck. So, on March 3rd, '96, in the ring at MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Nevada, destiny granted his wish. Bruno had just won the WBC World Heavyweight title, and his first challenger was none other than Mike Tyson. Despite being the challenger, Tyson entered the fight as a 5-1 favorite. Perhaps this should have been taken as an omen of what awaited Bruno once the fight began. Being his third fight after getting out of prison, Tyson defeated Bruno by technical knockout 50 seconds into the third round.
But it was a nice effort. And anytime, oh, here comes Tyson. Tyson with a punch and a fought McGillian Mathis. Here's a combination uppercut by Tyson. Tyson laying it on, pouring it on, down goes.
Bruno was confident that Tyson's time behind bars would work against him, and he could defeat him. However, by snatching the title from him, Mike only proved that he was back and just as dangerous. Mike Tyson versus Peter McNeely. Are you curious about who Tyson faced right after getting out of prison? His victim was none other than the unfortunate Peter McNeely. It would be his first fight in 4 years due to his prison sentence, and McNeely was the first to underestimate the great return of the youngest heavyweight champion in history. In terms of business, it was a highly anticipated matchup. Perhaps McNeely's promises to knock out Tyson in the first round fueled the interest of the general public. But contrary to that, the night of August 19, 1995 is not a fond memory for the loudmouth. McNeely went down twice in less than a minute and a half of the fight.
Advertise comes right at Mike Tyson.
It was then that Vinny Vecchione, who was his manager, decided to jump into the ring to force Mills Lane, the referee, to stop the fight.
That nonsense because it was starting to butt heads. Oh.
Tyson with a left hook, a right uppercut, down goes McNeely.
Like a coward, it was clear that McNeely had underestimated the skills of a knockout machine that was still well-oiled. Mike Tyson versus Andrew Galotta. And when it comes to cowards, we have to make room for Andrew Galotta. He voluntarily decided not to continue after fighting only 2 rounds against the Great Iron Mike. These incredible events date back to the night of October 20th, 2000. So if you thought it happened when Tyson was at his peak, no. The coward fled when Iron Mike's career was coming to an end. Precisely because of this, Galotta boasted of his ability to counter Mike's attacks. He was sure he would be worn out and wouldn't be as forceful as in the past. But what he experienced in the ring at the Palace in Auburn Hills, Michigan, was completely the opposite. From the start, Tyson came out swinging. Not only did he dominate the pace of the fight, he also severely punished Galotta at every little opportunity he had. Therefore, after the second round, Galotta got up from his stool and began to walk around his corner, refusing to fight another round. It was unheard of. His team tried to convince him to continue.
Senza portare colpi, è chiaro che si espone e c'è una ferita all'arcata sopraccigliare sinistra di Golo.
Speriamo che non sia niente.
Destro,
destro,
Tyson è chiaro, sente il sangue.
And Frank Garza, the referee, was patient with him, calling him more than once. However, there was no choice but to accept that the one who promised to stop Tyson could only stop himself because of his cowardice. As he was led back to his locker room, Galotta was showered with trash and drinks from an audience that detested his decision. If you've made it this far, I thank you. Also, I remind you that there's no better way to support my content than by leaving your like on the video. Did you know the outcome of any of these Tyson fights? How much context did you have about his encounters with these Harasiers? I'll read you in the comments.
Tyson was stunned by the power of this monster. Mike Tyson was one of the toughest and most brutal fighters in the history of boxing. His knockouts were capable of causing irrational fear in his opponents while generating great excitement among audiences. At the peak of his career, he had the entire heavyweight division trembling at just the thought of standing in front of him in the honorable boxing ring. But what very few know is that there was an opponent who was as respected and feared as Iron Mike himself. He was a ruthless killer in the art of boxing who had no conscience or mercy for his adversaries. His name? Donovan Ruddock. Welcome. In today's video, I invite you to join me on a journey into the past and witness the great night in the golden history of boxing where Mike Tyson faced off against a Donovan Ruddock who made him doubt his performance for the first time in a long while. It's not just any fight. It's a true battle of titans that every discipline lover should know about. Get comfortable because this journey into the past begins here. The year was 1991 when on March 18th, Mike Tyson stepped into the ring at the Mirage Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada, to face his destiny and fight to be the last man standing against Donovan Ruddock. Tyson entered the fight as the #1 heavyweight contender by the World Boxing Council, the World Boxing Association, and the International Boxing Federation. But Ruddock wasn't far behind. These prestigious organizations categorized him as the #2 heavyweight contender. Representing Toronto, Ontario, Canada, Ruddock's professional record stood at 25 victories, 18 of them by knockout, having been defeated only once before and adding a controversial draw. Intimidating, you might think. However, Tyson's 39 victories, 35 of them by knockout, and only one previous defeat still made him, at least statistically, the great rival to beat. Ruddock entered the ring with great confidence. He even bought into the story of being the only fighter on earth capable of defeating Tyson during his prime years. Under this premise, and with Richard Steele accompanying them inside the ring, both fighters went into battle. Tyson's left broke the ice, and his offense quickly became aggressive. Ruddock tried to sneak in some combinations through his guard, but without much success. Early in the fight, clinches began as a sign of inability to face with fists what fate had put in front of Ruddock.
He's ready for it. He threw his bomb. Oh, all right. Right. The button. Another solid right. No, that would... It's done something. It stopped Iron Mike. Oh, what a right hand by...
Against a Mike Tyson landing hard punches left and right, Ruddock's aggressiveness seemed to take a while to make itself felt. A blow after the closing bell of the round would escalate the conflict's rivalry even further.
For the bell. Tyson hitting afterwards. And a bad push.
Now it would be Tyson's right that would open the second episode. And after a couple of seconds and just a couple more punches, Ruddock would test how comfortable the canvas was as he fell sitting down heavily upon it. The Canadian Titan got up immediately, but it was a clear knockdown due to the powerful left blow he received before his fall. Steele began the safety count, while Ruddock paced around, agitated. Not even he could believe what had happened. After the standard count of 8, the fight resumed. Tyson knew what he was doing by provoking his opponent. In the first clinch, he landed a straight right to the chin. Confident in his abilities, he wanted to generate close-range exchanges to further open his window of opportunity for a knockout. But against a Ruddock who seemed calm between caution and clinches, Iron Mike would have to wait a little longer for his great chance to fully arrive.
In the opening round. Now he's measuring Ruddock out and seems to be more...
Ruddock tried to create some distance between him and Tyson by stretching out his left, but to no avail. If he was the predator, Tyson was the prey waiting behind the sights of his rifle ready to execute the perfect shot. However, to avoid getting bored, he accurately fired his fists at his target with the intention of causing harm. Clinches were becoming more frequent, but Mike found a way to sneak in a couple of his punches to continue weakening his opponent. At this point in the contest, it was clear who was in control of the fight's rhythm. For every step Tyson took forward, Ruddock took 2 back.
Just leaning on Tyson.
During the last 20 seconds of the round, the Canadian Titan finally stood firm against his opponent and tried to exchange some punches. Unfortunately, this only led to his second knockdown. Tyson's powerful left would be the star once again as it executed a brutal hook that left Ruddock lying flat on his back.
He just doesn't quite get there. There's a left by Ruddock.
Getting up immediately, and with the greatest of surprises imprinted on his face, Steele granted him the safety count. Fortunately, when the fight resumed, he was saved by the bell. Mike knew he had to continue the path that had brought him to the 4th round with 2 knockdowns in his favor. Ruddock, however, knew he had to stay as far away as possible from his opponent if he wanted to avoid finding out if the 3rd time was the charm.
Mike Tyson
Fearful of starting another close exchange, Ruddock retreated as much as he could and clung to Iron Mike's body to reduce his chances of attack, frustrating the offense of the one who had dominated him perfectly until then. The question that remained was how much longer his cowardly strategy could buy him.
That body shot sounded like he hit a drum. Again, the crowd groaned. Relentless attack. Oh, they hit him.
Immediately after the opening bell, Ruddock retreated until he collided with the ropes. He tried to neutralize Tyson's offense with weak combinations, but his right was unable to cause significant damage, and his left couldn't keep his hunter away for long. Every blow Tyson landed on him caused havoc. He knew he had to work from the art of weakening his opponent if he wanted a moderately early victory. Even in his tragic situation, Ruddock wanted to show off by placing his left fist on Tyson's forehead, an act of provocation that disrespected his opponent, and in the noble art of boxing tends to be paid very dearly.
He can question his integrity or his honesty.
A flurry. Tyson with another right. He was looking for his 3rd straight. We are now.
With the countdown in his favor, the weak Canadian Titan was saved by the bell once again. As soon as the bell rang, Tyson charged at Ruddock like a locomotive without brakes until he made him impact against the ropes. The provocations had their effect, and now Mike's offense was just a little more tenacious. Ruddock continued trying to neutralize him, but he missed more punches than he landed. When Mike stood in front of him, it created a truly terrifying scenario. At this point, everyone began counting the seconds until the fall of the Canadian Rooster. It was a fight scheduled for 12 rounds, but the end was just around the corner.
Sit ringside, up close. Tyson, now Tyson says no, hit me again, and he did with the right. And the bell.
Ruddock tried to slow down the inevitable with his clinches on Tyson's body, but his cowardly strategy would no longer succeed. By the time he tried to start an exchange, Mike delivered the blow that would mean the point of no return. Entering the last minute of the round, Tyson pinned Ruddock against the ropes and became the executioner who would initiate one of the worst massacres of his professional career. An intrepid flurry of blows made Ruddock's head sway from left to right, giving the impression that it would be detached from his neck.
Tyson has Ruddock on the rope. Now the right.
With his fists down, Steele quickly realized that he was a fighter no longer fit to fight. Ironically, after regaining consciousness, Ruddock seemed surprised and displeased by Steele's decision. Little did he know that he had been saved from being decapitated. Just over 3 months later, Tyson and Ruddock collided once again in the ring at the Mirage Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada. Do you wonder what the outcome of this second encounter was? That, my friend, belongs to another chapter in the golden history of boxing. I can only spoil you with the following. These boxing titans never disappoint. If you've made it this far, I thank you. If you enjoyed our journey, remember that there's no better way to support my content than by leaving a like on the video. Do you think Ruddock ever really had a chance to beat the great Iron Mike? At what moment do you think was the point of no return for his defeat? I'll read you in the comments.
Welcome. In today's video, I offer you to use my time machine and travel to a time when the name Mike Tyson was disrespected by daring rooster fighters who ended up defeated in the ring once their chance to beat him came to an end. Do you have an idea of what time I'm referring to? Stay until the end. Mike Tyson versus Jesse Ferguson. The year was 1986 when Mike Tyson, with a professional record of 17 knockout victories without defeats, faced Jesse Ferguson. For some reason, Ferguson was confident that his record of 14 victories, 10 by knockout and 1 defeat, would give him enough experience to halt Tyson's unstoppable rise. Before stepping into the ring at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in Troy, New York, he took it upon himself to discredit the young man who was about to become a living legend. On February 16th, Tyson's fists would ultimately teach him a harsh lesson. Once they got into the ring, Tyson landed deafening hooks to Ferguson's body and snapped his head back on a couple of occasions.
Then have some of Tyson's 12 first-round knockout victims, but now,
If it weren't Carl Williams' fight, we saw just special. He threw a tremendous left hook, missed with it, and didn't go off balance.
Ferguson fought much of the first half of the first round with his back against the ropes, which was not a good omen. He sought to block Tyson's attacks and occasionally, during the last minute, managed to execute some of his own.
Ferguson landed one good left.
However, Tyson's cruel offensive continued to punish Ferguson's body during the second round.
Right now, Ferguson's just fighting.
Absolutely not. Would not try to win.
Much of the third round was spent in internal struggles where Tyson managed to overpower Ferguson. Having leaned against the ropes until then, Ferguson managed to execute a good flurry halfway through the round, causing Tyson's head to recoil.
Has won the first 2 rounds and is controlling the third.
But his dirty fighting style would soon be admonished for leading with the head and holding Tyson by the neck. Ferguson only dirtied his performance further by throwing a couple of punches after the bell that ended the fourth round, but Tyson missed while responding. Ferguson began by trying to mitigate Tyson's attacks, but only succeeded in having his nose broken just over 2 minutes into the fifth round. Effectively, due to the same blow, he was sent to the canvas severely.
A TKO defeat, not a decision. Was in trouble in both the first and 10th rounds, and now he's in trouble.
It took him just after the count of 8 to get up, but it was the worst decision he could have made. While the referee watched closely, Tyson took care to brutally beat him for the rest of the round.
Rivera almost stopped it there.
Ferguson would come out of his corner swinging for the 6th round before being pressed against the ropes and punished with powerful headshots. In the desperation to nullify Tyson's attacks, Ferguson began to cling to his body and refuse to let go. For this, he received a warning past the minute mark of the round. But only a few seconds later, he would cling to Tyson again and prevent the referee from putting any distance between them. Thus, Luis Rivera made the signal that ended everything.
Ferguson, he must maintain a little bit of distance so that he's going to take a point. He's disqualified.
Ferguson had finished the match severely injured and as a coward, unwilling to face his destiny. And Tyson descended from the ring as the winner by technical knockout at 1 minute and 19 seconds of the 6th round. Mike Tyson versus Lorenzo Boyd. He claimed that Mike Tyson was a vulnerable fighter. He criticized his fighting style, saying he made many mistakes in the ring, and he assured that, after studying him, what Tyson did was flawed. When asked if he would finally be the one to hurt Tyson, he not only said he could do it, he assured he would. What do you think happened when he entered the ring with him? On July 11th, '86, in the ring at the Stevensville Hotel in Swan Lake, New York, an unprecedented encounter took place. Tyson, maintaining his undefeated record with 23 victories, 21 of them by knockout, faced Lorenzo Boyd. Boyd, with a professional record of just 16 victories, only 9 achieved by knockout and 5 defeats, had the audacity to discredit Tyson's skills in the media days before the fight. By then, everyone wanted to be the one to make Mike taste the bitter taste of defeat, but they were far from achieving it. And once in the ring, Boyd learned not to speak too much when your skills are not up to defending your words. After the bell rang to start the match, Tyson came out to win. The aggression in his offense was so evident that it could almost be felt, and Boyd didn't know where to start to put out the fire. From the initial bell, Tyson hurt Boyd with right hooks to the body, thus breaking his fighting spirit. The intensity of Tyson's offensive was so high that it did not allow Boyd to mount his own attack, and during that first round, Tyson broke Boyd's nose, probably as a premise of what he was willing to do around the corner.
Looking for an opening. I know Boyd wants to come in with the uppercut, but hasn't shown. Solid body shots from Tyson. A minute to go in round. Boyd trying to answer back.
Tyson continued to dominate the pace of the fight during the second round, Boyd's impulses to win were diminishing in front of the beast he was facing in the ring. Finally, Tyson closed the night with a strong right hook to the body, crowned with a clean right hook that landed just below Boyd's chin.
By Jim Jacobs and Bill Clayton. Good right uppercut. Right now he backs off from a sharp right uppercut to the body by Tyson. Again!
Tyson's power was undeniable. With this perfect execution, he sent Boyd sprawling to the canvas. Sid Rubenstein, the referee, acted as a forensic examiner at the scene of the crime. He reached the count of 8 before ending the fight. By the time Tyson and his corner were celebrating the victory by knockout at 1 minute and 43 seconds of the second round, Boyd still lay on the canvas. After the fight, Boyd's testimonies regarding Tyson changed drastically. "He's stronger than I thought," he said. "He caught me very well in the ribcage, and then I got scared," he said. When asked if he saw Mike Tyson in the future defeating any heavyweight of the moment, Boyd only replied, "Yes, he will go for all of them." Lorenzo Boyd learned not to be a loudmouth the hard way. Mike Tyson versus Trevor Berbick. On November 22, 86, the prophecy sung by Lorenzo Boyd upon being defeated by Mike Tyson began to come true. In the ring at the Hilton Hotel in Las Vegas, Tyson faced his destiny and fought Trevor Berbick as a challenger. Berbick had to defend his newly won World Boxing Council heavyweight title, and his champion status made him overly confident. Despite publicly acknowledging Tyson's merits earned through punches, Berbick assured that he was not bothered by him being his challenger because he was the champion. Berbick claimed he trained hard and prepared physically and mentally for the worst, and Tyson was not the worst. He even called himself a soldier of the cross, capable of overcoming all demons. But once in the ring, the soldier ran out of ammunition for the battle. The damage in the second round began, with Tyson sending Berbick to the canvas with a series of blows that ended with a left hook. Despite falling spectacularly, he got up, indicating to Mills Lane, the referee, that he was okay to continue the fight. However, it was evident that he wasn't. His weakness was exposed when he tried to hold on to Tyson in clinches and stop him. He even tarnished his performance by hitting Tyson during a break. A cowardly action that earned him a warning from Mills Lane, who ordered him to play fair.
Command in this fight right now. We're only in round 2, and then Wild on the break, and Mills Lane won, holding off Mike with a left. And you see what a right hand landed. See Mike just
at the end of the second round, it was over for Berbick. A deadly left hook landed on his temple, and in a delayed reaction, he finally fell onto the seat of his shorts.
That uppercut is Tyson. Catches him with a right left hook, and he goes down! He goes down!
Berbick tried to recover, but stumbled towards the ropes near his corner and fell. "Fallen soldier!" must have echoed in his mind. He tried to straighten up, but his arms couldn't hold him. He staggered towards where he had originally fallen, in the center of the ring, and went straight to the canvas once again. It was a grotesque scene. He tried to stand up once more, but stumbled towards a neutral corner. By then, Lane's count had reached 9. When Berbick finally managed to stay on his feet, he failed to pass Lane's approval. Immediately, for his safety, the fight was stopped. Thus, Mike Tyson made history by becoming the youngest heavyweight champion in the noble art of boxing. And what a fight! If you've made it this far, I thank you. Did you enjoy this trip back in time? Remember that there is no better way to support my content than by leaving your like on the video. Do you know of any other Rooster fighter who was defeated after his fight with Mike Tyson? Tell me about him in the comments. Did you know that there was once a time when Mike Tyson faced a psychopath in the ring and drove him to true madness? On October 20th, 2000, Michigan served as the setting for one of the most scandalous fights in boxing history. 2 true psychopaths met in the ring. In one corner there was a living legend, the iconic Iron Mike. In the other, a crazy fighter named Andrew Galotta. The event itself promised to bring fireworks to the world of sports, but it ended up only bringing a scandal that is still talked about to this day. Welcome. In today's video, we will relive the fateful night when Mike Tyson drove Andrew Galotta crazy in the ring. Get comfortable, because I'm about to take you back more than 20 years to witness one of the most unheard of moments in the history of the sport. Our journey begins here. Before the catastrophic fight, Mike wasn't necessarily experiencing the best moment of his career. From being the young phenomenon who patiently made his way to the championship belt, he became just another fighter who let himself be consumed by life itself. Prison, drugs, street fights, among other events, gave Tyson the reputation of being an unstable athlete. But that didn't make him any less popular as a fighter. Despite his life outside the ring being a true whirlwind of misfortunes, fans still loved to see the beast that emanated in the ring. However, there was another boxer who could easily compete against Tyson in terms of madness. His name? You already know it. Andrew Galotta. Galotta was a fighter who, despite possessing all the qualities of a future champion, was weak in one small aspect: mental health. That small but vital factor occasionally led him to go crazy in the ring. But just as had been happening with Iron Mike, his crazy behavior made Galotta much more popular in the eyes of the fans. That's why when it was announced that he would be next on the list of contenders to face Mike Tyson, the fans were incredibly excited. For them, this would be a fight from which many surprises could be expected, and they weren't wrong to make this observation. A month before the battle, the press conference took place. Both fighters were expected to be there at the same time, but Tyson arrived really late. The beginning of the conference focused on Galotta, who claimed to be in the best shape of his life, physically speaking. By the time the former undisputed world champion appeared, 3 hours after the scheduled time, he made it more than clear that he was ready to face Galotta. Finally, on October 20th, 2000, the showdown between the two psychopaths took place. First round. Tyson's left hand broke the ice. It wasn't the first time he faced a giant in the ring, so he already had a predefined target. With body shots, Mike would break Galotta's armor blow after blow until he left him weak and defenseless. Surprisingly, the Polish psychopath showed respect for Iron Mike. Stepping back, he let him advance until he put himself in high-risk situations with the ropes behind him. His counterattacks didn't seem to maintain enough strength to shake Mike's world. Therefore, for the last minute, Tyson began to tempt fate and change his target to the head.
Tapping a little bit, not really unloading with these big shots.
Right of the face over the left eye of Galotta.
There was less than 15 seconds left until the end of the round when a powerful right hook exploded on Galotta's eyebrow.
He's doing an excellent job, Steve.
The impact managed to knock down the Polish giant without warning, shocking the audience present in the venue. Galotta got up after the count of 3, but it was extended to the regular 8. Immediately, Andrew's face changed from determination to concern. He seemed compelled to continue with the fight, even though there was no one else around him. Looking fearfully in Mike's direction, he heard what would become his lifeline: the sound of the bell. Second round. Dripping blood from the cut above his eyebrow, Galotta came out to defend his honor, but attacking Tyson only provoked a beast he wasn't ready to tame. When Mike returned the favor with a killer combination of punches, the Polish giant had no choice but to try to cover his body to avoid the highest level of damage possible. With clinches, he tried to calm down Mike's aggressive offense. It was when Mike returned to what he does best: attacking the body. This prompted an exchange that Galotta didn't come out well from, and it had only been a minute since the start of the episode. By the time Tyson went back to targeting his head, Galotta really felt fear. Being in the best shape of his life didn't stop the punches. Every 2 punches, he threw himself at Iron Mike's body, but how much longer could the Polish giant escape his fate? The program continued its course, with slow-motion replays of the best moments of the previous round. Suddenly, when Galotta and Tyson were supposed to be seen returning from their corners to the center of the ring, the image captured by the cameras was incredible. They were trying to force the Polish giant to put on his mouthguard. This was a clear sign that the one who had claimed to have everything in order to defeat the great Iron Mike refused to go out to fight another round against him. Walking around the ring, head down, Galotta even pushed the referee when he approached to ask him to return to the fight. He had truly been scared after just 2 rounds against the legend. While Galotta represented madness, he had never been seen losing his head like this before. Time kept ticking, and the bell demanded that the fighters continue with the match. The struggle seen from Galotta's corner was incredible. He looked like a spoiled child who doesn't want to take his medicine. Probably many people in the venue were confused, but not him. Galotta was very clear about it. There was no force in this world that could force him to fight another episode against Iron Mike. He had had enough, and there was nothing left but to give the victory to Mike Tyson. While his corner celebrated, Mike's face was a true poem. He was upset. But more upset was the audience. When Galotta was allowed to leave the ring, like a true coward, his torment had only just begun. Booze, trash, and drinks thrown at him adorned his body on the way back to the dressing rooms. He probably didn't think about it, but he had marked himself for life by choosing not to lose honorably, like a true warrior. While a night full of surprises was expected, the last thing anyone could imagine was that the Polish giant would escape from the fight by making a true walk of shame. Later, it was revealed that Galotta had a broken bone in his head, which could have pierced his brain if the fight had continued. According to his testimony from the locker room, Tyson was euphoric headbutting all the time during, but it called into question the referee's performance, because he claimed that Mike didn't even receive a warning for any of them. After this harsh defeat, Galotta didn't step into a professional boxing ring again for 3 years. Despite winning the fight, the outcome of this encounter wasn't entirely positive for Tyson either. Mike decided to take his madness to another level when he didn't care about smoking marijuana before fighting. And it wasn't a rumor this time. Tyson was tested and tested positive for marijuana. It was unheard of. Justice for the alleged headbutts to Galotta, which allegedly put his life at risk, seemed to be looming. Because after Tyson's test result, the commission couldn't remain idle. That's how the result of the fight had to be changed. Now, Mike Tyson was not the winner by technical knockout at the end of the second round. He was declared unfit to continue. What a box of surprises it has been. Although at the time it seemed like a disappointing outcome, all the twists and turns did make it one of the most memorable in the minds of the fans. If you've made it this far, I thank you. Now that you have the complete context of the night when two psychopaths faced off in the ring, what do you think about it? I'll read you in the comments.